Hey technicians, it's Jen from Draftline, and I want to welcome everybody from ABI Colorado Springs into the Draftline family. We've already worked with all of the technicians over the last couple of weeks, getting all the routes in order, so I already feel like we've established a really good level of communication. We know we can depend on you guys to get us the information we need, and I hope that you will see that it'll be easy to get in contact and depend on us to keep you guys rolling throughout your routes. So we have your service center uploaded to the cloud. It's all created. All of your trips are going to be in there. So you can use this by date option and roll forward to Monday. Now we've got our startup meeting tomorrow. So once you guys download the mobile application from the App Store to your iPad or iPhone or Android device, you will be able to log in with the email address that we had on file for you, which for all three of my guys, it's your personal email, and the password, which will be on your startup paperwork. So keep the startup paperwork with you because it will have my contact info, Rebecca's, I believe also Petra's will be on there, and we will be assisting you throughout your days as you learn how to maneuver through your routes with Draftline. So once you are logged into the app with your email and password, you're going to see your routes. And this is a test account that we're going to use today, so I don't mess anything up on your service center. But so this is what a day will look like. So you'll have your account starting at the top, and you'll just work through them and go down to the bottom of the day. Now for this one, we're going to pick Sullivan's Public House, and all the pictures are generated by Google, so don't laugh too hard at some of the ones that you see. But from this, it's the trip overview page. You can get directed. It tells you the suggested time of the line cleaning, which in this instance is October 6th from 11 to noon. It tells you the task. So line cleaning is the type of trip that we're going to be performing. Once we get further into using the app and through the first cycle, which for you is 2 weeks, we may start adding some service trips, and you'll notice the difference. You can swipe to call or text the phone number on file, and then also it shows you each of the technicians that are assigned to the trip. Now, for all my guys out there in Colorado Springs, it's one per trip. I don't see any trips on your route where you have more than one person assigned, so that makes it simple. But you can have more than one assigned, and they can each be feeding checklist back to complete the trip. So in this case, the technician you see is avatar. We're going to have your photos there, and the little foreman icon next to him, that means he's the foreman, he's the person responsible for the check in and out options. If you guys don't see that on any of your trips, you're not going to see the checkout options that help us color code. I want you to call us or text us and let us know. Say, hey, something's different on this trip. So this is simply your trip overview page. You will navigate from the bottom of the screen, and I'll show you where you hit next. We're going to go to tasks, which is the second icon from the bottom left. So we're going to click on that, and the first thing we do when we get to a location is we're going to check in. We like to have you guys do this out by your truck because it gives us a clear view of the open sky. We can see exactly where the pin drop is. It makes it very easy and clean. We also mainly want to have a really good time accounting. So for Draftline, when we are measuring the time that is spent servicing a location, that really starts when you hit the parking lot before you unload your supplies. So we always want to make sure that you check in, and then you're basically going to put your phone in your pocket until you start getting the chemicals pumping through the system, doing your checklist. So your phone after you check in is going to get put away for a little while, but for the purposes of today, we're going to continue to roll through the options. So at the top of the screen, you're going to see the safety first guidelines. Of course, we always say an ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure. We always want you guys to have those gloves and goggles on. We like to see you measuring the pH of the water after. Always add the cleaner to the water once it's in the pot, not the reverse because it can splash, so on and so forth. We can get into the intricacies of all that later, but gloves and goggles is what I want you to remember always. Now you're going to see your tasks. So we call this the tasks page. And for line cleaning, we just have the gray circle and the orange circle. So we're going to start with the gray circle because that's our line cleaning. Within DraftLine, we build each type of beer system. So we have a glycol system at this account. And if you see that the information is not correct, I believe we're going to have a high degree of accuracy because you guys have been very helpful to us getting all the info in. But if you see something's not correct, especially for the first cycle or two, just let us know and we'll change it for you on the fly. So we're going to click into the glycol system. There could be multiple systems within a location. For you guys, 97% of the country is using the static method, which is a cleaning can. So first 4 steps, no matter what method you're using, are regular maintenance. So this is how you're going to start to go through your checklist once that cleaning's in process. If you use a recirc pump, you're going to click it. If you're doing your acid cycle, you're going to click that. But for the most part, my boys in Colorado Springs are going to be checking static, and then only quarterly you'll click the acid. So under your line cleaning list, it's going to be regular maintenance and static, I would say 90% of the time for you guys. So just those two. And down at the bottom right, you're going to click that circle. It's going to pop you back to your overview page. Now you will notice the 3 dots, and underneath that it says line, because that's the line cleaning portion, and partially. For partially completed, it's going to say that always for you guys. So this is an indicator for you just to let you know as technicians that you've gone through, you've checked off the checklist that you need, and you don't need to go back and look. That's the only reason why that's there. We're not ever going to look at this page and say, oh, you only partially did that, because we already know that that's what you're supposed to do. So nobody panic about that. So now we're going to click on the faucets. And with this, we're going to verify, okay, you've taken apart the faucets, soaked, put them back together, reassembled. So you're going to verify that that's done for the following faucets. Now, we're going to get into brand tracking on another page, but where we have this box apply to all 12, unless you have every single faucet in that location, you're never going to use that, which makes this slightly more complicated to use, but you guys have been so great on your paperwork, I have no doubt that we're going to have this in check really fast. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to click Budweiser, and I'm going to click faucet number 3, and we're going to add that brand. Now on your first 2-week cycle, all these faucets are going to say faucet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's always going to be bartender view left to right. Okay, so whenever we're labeling our brands on our faucets, we want to take the bartender view, which is behind the bar, staring at the tower, and we always go label left to right. That's an industry standard. So that will be more applicable to another page, but here we're just going to verify the brands that we're actually cleaning, which you're an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. You're just cleaning AB brands, even though you guys have tons. So we're going to click that, okay, we have cleaned these 2 faucets. And again, that's going to pop us back to the overview page, and it's going to say partially completed because you're a wholesaler, and that's just the way things go. So from this standpoint, your tasks are complete on your service items. We still have our survey to do, and we'll roll forward into that in a moment. So we're going to scroll from the bottom of the screen. We're going to go over to the notes section, which is right in the middle, and we're going to click on that. This is where you guys can send us notes to the dashboard, and we also have 2 types of reports that we pull notes from. One is from line cleaning trips, which all of your trips are going to be, and one is service trips, which we'll get into later. But a good example here would be account closed. We could make a note of that if you get turned away, and you could send that off. You can also take photos. You can add photos from your camera roll. If you're in a walk-in cooler and you want to take a photo of an issue and you don't have signal, you take a photo on the camera roll, you add that later. Or you say no draft brands. That would be another option. So this is just a little indicator as to why, say you got turned away or you couldn't do your duties, or if something's broken. Say glycol unit not working. And then we know to send someone out for service. So that's an example of, or several examples of how you would use that box. You hit the little paper airplane, that sends it off to the dashboard, and we'll either see the note immediately or we'll always pull it at the end of day report. So that makes it easy to condense everything that's happening into the service center so we can make sure we get the right eyes on it. Now we're going to scroll over to system. And this is where, I don't want to say it gets complicated, but this is probably where we get most of our questions, because the first week or two, you guys are somewhat flying blind because you're sending us information back, but that information is not immediately viewable to you because our team is vetting it before we accept it, and the changes pop up on your mobile phone. So when I talked about bartender view left to right, this is exactly what I was discussing. So for Tower 1, your first faucet is going to be Budweiser. Your second faucet is going to be New Belgium Fat Tire. And like I said, on your first round of service, it's all going to be faucet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I wanted to show you a couple scenarios you're going to come into contact with so you know how to make the changes. So for a blank faucet, let's start with faucet 3. To add a brand to this faucet, we're just going to slide across with our finger. Slide across, a little pencil is going to pop up in an orange box, and you're going to click on that. And this is going to be your faucet edit request. So we're going to leave faucet number 3 there, and we're going to come here and we're going to say, okay, I'm trying to think, Bud Light. We're going to add Bud Light. Now, I'm hoping that we have a chance to have all the brands populated in a drop-down list for you by Monday, which we should be. So typically, you'll type the first 2-3 letters in, and a drop-down list will appear, and then you can just click on that, and that will auto-populate for you. So when you get down to distributor, click next, and you're the distributor for Bud Light, so we'll put ABI right there, ABI Colorado Springs. We'll click on that. We'll click next. Now, there is a notes section here, yes. However, when it comes to brand changes, we don't want anybody to use the box here for brand changes. This is really just to note if something's broken, but we would prefer that you notate that on the earlier notes box at the bottom of the screen. We've had a lot of service centers and a lot of technicians at those service centers get confused on this notes box, so we prefer that you guys just don't use it at all, especially when it comes to brand changes, because it makes it very difficult to go back and correct from here. So we are going to say Bud Light, ABI Colorado Springs. That looks good to me. Okay, and that is going to send that faucet change request off to the dashboard. We're going to vet that, make sure the spelling's correct, accept it, and when you guys get out to Sullivan's Public House or whatever account it is for the next rotation on your next cleaning cycle, everything you entered will be there. So the first 2 weeks of service, I know it's a lot of data entry. However, that is going to drop by 85 to 90% on your 3rd and 4th week cycle and moving forward. So what will happen when you go in is you'll be able to do a quick survey of the tower or towers left to right, and you only have to change the ones where the brands have changed. Typically Budweiser, that's going to be on the same line forever. So you have to enter it the first time, I know, which is slightly time consuming, but once you are up to speed, like I said, 10 to 15% of these are all you'll have to change, and it's only going to take you 25 seconds start to finish to enter all of your information on the mobile application. If you come into contact with a location that is, say, 25 faucets or more, and you are slowed down that day and you need help, that's when you call Rebecca. That's when you call me. You text us, you take a photo, write it down, make a list for us, and we'll help you get those brands in, because we want to maintain your speed throughout the day and help you to be successful. So one other scenario I wanted to cover with you guys as you go through and you're doing your faucet surveys, and this is going to be more for the second, or actually, yeah, the second cycle of service, so week 3, 4, and onward. you're going to come into a location, you're going to say, oh, Fat Tire is not there anymore. And you're going to want to edit that and change it to the updated brand. And what we'll do is we just back it out there, back it out here, and say it's kind of some crazy brand. I'm going to use Dragon Mead because it's in the drop-down list, but it could be, you know, some type of cider nobody's ever heard of, whatever. We're going to put Dragon Mead, and say you don't know who the wholesaler is because it's an off-brand, we're going to put independent. So if there's ever an instance where you don't know for sure who the wholesaler is, we just put it in an independent. That will appear in your drop-down list, so it will be very easy for you guys to tap on. And that shoots it to a report for us where we can vet that information on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and it makes it easy for us to see what brands are coming and going. So that's what we ask you to do there. So then we click OK. Again, like I said, on the next date of service, everything will be updated and in there. And there's so many craft brands, this becomes a big issue. So that is how you do your faucet survey. Bartender view, left to right always. And you can have multiple towers. If you find any info that is not correct on this page in regards to towers and faucets assigned to towers, again, just give us a call, give us a text, shoot us a note. We'll make sure we get that updated. We do expect to see some errors on that over the first cycle or two of service. Now, one other thing on this page. If you need to add just one faucet, if you need to add 10 faucets, you can do it this way. But honestly, if you need to add more than 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a situation where you call or text us on the fly and say, Jen, Rebecca, Petra, can you add some faucets? I'm at this account right now. And usually within 10, 15 minutes tops, we can get that added. And we prefer to actually add it when you're at the account because it makes it easier for you and us back on the cloud. So if you walk into a location, you want to add one faucet, you scroll across the tower line. And I need you to keep in mind, because we're adding these brands left to right, this is going to be the last faucet on the list. So it would be the last one appearing on your right in order of however you add them. So for instance, let's do Angry Orchard. Right there. You click on that. Next, we're going to say, I'm not sure whose brand that is, but let's put independent. There we go. Okay. And it's the same exact thing. It's going to go back to the dashboard. We're going to approve that, and you're going to see the faucet on the next date of service. So makes it very easy for you. So you can add a faucet there if you are short, but don't go crazy. 2, 3, 4. If it gets much more than that, call Rebecca and I, and we'll get that in for you. Now, the only other thing I think that we need to cover in regards to tasks is when available, we're going to collect a signature. You're not going to use most of the things on this page. We call this the expenses page. You're just going to use, again, where the little pencil is. And this is how we add a signature. So we like to collect at least the last name if we can, but I'm going to put my name in. Hit success. And then at the bottom in the gray area of the screen is where we're going to sign. And that's where you're going to have the person sign at the location. So then you just click done. And that's really helpful because a lot of this information that we're going to collect out of this mobile application, you guys aren't going to have to go back and filter through for it anymore. The supervisor's not going to have to go back and look for it. And the way I like to see it used is when the customer calls and says, hey, when was the last time your technician was here? We say, well, as a matter of fact, it was October 6th at 11 a.m. and Jen signed for it. It just makes life so easy and makes us look so good out in the field. So, oops, I went back too far. Let me go back here. The last thing we want to do when your expenses, you would hit the task page, we want to check out. This gets not complicated at all, but it's a very important step because it color codes your route for the day, and it also color codes back to the dashboard so we can see where things are at. So when we go to checkout, we're going to hit the same button we did for check-in, and it's right there. And when I talked about the foreman, the little person that was next to Jason's name, This is what the foreman sees when he checks out because it sets the status for the trip. So for our checkout options, we have completed, partially completed, no work performed, and canceled, which we're almost never going to use. So completed is you came, you saw, you conquered, and we're hoping that on your first 2 week cycle that we're going to have 86% of trips fall into that status. But by far, no matter what the final percentage is, the majority of trips are going to fall under the completed status. Partially completed is going to be, and I know we have one guy that's got a big venue. Partially completed is when you go in, say it's a stadium, you clean most of it, you have to go back and finish something up the next day. You're going to set that in the partially completed status until you go back in the next day, check in again, and complete it. No work performed. 5% of trips fall into this status, and this is no fault of ours. Typically, it's going to be you show up to the location and the manager says, hey man, I'm too busy for lunch, you can't clean today. Or it's going to be that they have no gas in the system to be able to clean with. Something that means you showed up, you were there to perform your work, but they turned you away for whatever reason. That's going to be no work performed. So for this one, we're going to click completed, and then we're going to pop back to our overview page, and you're going to see how it updates. So as you go throughout the day, all your completed trips are going to have a little green circle with a check mark. And real quickly, I'll show you what it looks like. I'll check into this one, I'll check out, I'll say partially completed. And that will pop up here. You'll see the status for partially completed. No work performed. I'll do another one. Check in, check out. That's going to color code gray back on your routes list. So this is your trips list. Actually, that's black. I apologize. So you will have color coding to help you navigate throughout the day so you can see where you're at, if anything needs to be completed. You will also receive end of day reports with any, typically we just do the open status, especially the first 2 weeks. So that way we try and drive the percentage home and make sure we're getting as many cleanings done as possible. There's always a few that escape us, and typically it's through no fault of our own, but this is all about servicing our customers, making the beer taste as good as it possibly can, and making sure that we have accountability to ourselves and our customers moving forward. So that's really it. There's a few other things in regards to messages, settings right here. We've got trips, reports, messages, settings. We need to make sure that you guys have your auto updates on and you click the right permissions when you download the mobile application, like location services and stuff like that. So if you don't, we'll be checking in with you saying, hey, one of the settings on your phone is wrong, because we can tell back on the dashboard. Another thing right here, we have software updates on a very regular basis, and this is where we may have you guys go to see what version you have, although I do believe that we can track those at this point on the dashboard. And then you can also log out of the mobile application there. So to go back to the trips page, we're going to hit the little car icon, and that will take us back to our overview page. So all of you, like I said, I've worked with you already over the last 2 weeks. You're all such pleasant guys. I thank you for everything. We look forward to having you in the Draftline family. And keep your startup paperwork with you. And also, I already know I'm programmed in your phone, so we should be good to go. So good luck, and we'll be talking a lot. Thanks so much, team. Take care.